Hey, thanks for joining us. My name is Chris Vandersloos. I'm the president of HMS Software, and over the next few minutes, I'm going to take a look with you at TimeControl 8, our latest version of TimeControl, and see how it can make a difference for you and your organization. Let's start off just with a bit of background on HMS Software. We've been around since the early 1980s. Our first release of TimeControl came some 10 years later after we'd done numerous timesheets for individual clients. We decided to put TimeControl on the market. We're partners with numerous high-tech companies, including some that we'll talk about in terms of their project management and other software to which we link. Okay, what's the whole point of TimeControl? Well, TimeControl was designed with the idea of being a multi-purpose timesheet. Many different products have timesheets. You might find a timesheet in your payroll system for time and attendance, a timesheet for billing if you're in a professionals business. Project management wants to keep track of the actuals compared to their budgets. And for numerous other reasons, R&D, DCAA compliance, other kinds of government compliance, you might need a timesheet. The idea of TimeControl was to have a single interface that could feed all of these kinds of systems with auditable financial rule systems. Okay, enough talking about it. Let's go take a look at TimeControl in action. Okay, well, let's take a look here at TimeControl. We're looking at TimeControl version 8, and we're going to look at TimeControl from a couple of different perspectives. First of all, I've logged into TimeControl as Gail Robinson. She's an individual. Her big job is to fill in her timesheet every week and make sure that it's handed in for approval. As you can see, Gail has a dashboard. You can show how many vacation days she has left and where she's been putting her time, whether she has any timesheets that are still in her outbox ready to be submitted, and any announcements. Dashboards will change as you see us log in at different times in the system. Gail doesn't care a whole lot about this. She's going to be looking at TimeControl at the end of the week. And here she is in her timesheet. She can add a timesheet. We'll add one for the middle of September. And let's just move forward and do that. And so TimeControl, in this case, we're looking at a weekly timesheet, but TimeControl periods are set by the administrator. You could have in the same system, some people working weekly, some people bi-monthly, some people bi-weekly. You get to decide. For Gail, we're doing a simple weekly timesheet. If she has a restricted screen size, she can hide the menu a little bit so that she can see the whole thing. TimeControl is now added these preloaded lines from different sources. This boat show is coming from one system inside of Primavera. The Polar is coming from Microsoft Project. Internal are charges that she has put into her preferred preloaded charges, and the timesheet's now ready for editing. And we're just going to say that Gail did a couple of things here. She worked on the Polar project a little bit on Monday, and on a couple of different tasks on the Polar project on Tuesday. On Wednesday, she worked on some things on the boat show, and Thursday as well. And then on Friday, we can even add a task if we want, or we can just say that, yeah, she was working on travel on Friday, and I'm going to put in 8, but I'm going to accidentally double click that and make an 88 hours. I'm going to do that for a very specific reason, which you'll see in a moment. So for Gail, her timesheet's complete. She can click apply and say, yeah, I'm ready to go. She could add additional information inside the timesheet. She could put in expense reports. TimeControl allows you to put in expenses. She could look at activity progress. Perhaps she's responsible for updating the task progress and sending that back to the project management system. But in most cases, what we're looking at is this is ready for approval. And now I can release this for approval. Where it's going to go, it's going to go to Tom Logan. That's Gail's supervisor. Yes, I'd like to release this for approval. Oh, I can't do that. I accidentally put in more than 8 hours in a single day. That was on line 4, sure enough. TimeControl has automated validation rules that you create. You set what those validation rules are, and you decide what makes for an appropriate timesheet. Some rules can work for all users, some rules for only specific users. For example, you might say there's no sick leave on a weekend for a salaried worker, but perhaps that's possible for our hourly workers. I mean, you can make those kinds of rules. I think we've made our correction now to our travel for company business. I'm going to release that for approval now. And I could send a notification to Tom. I'm not going to do that. If I sent a notification to him, then you'd see the little alarm going to say you have some information waiting for you. In fact, Gail has a notification waiting, and that's because her timesheet from a couple of weeks ago was rejected, so she'll need to correct that. Here you can see in the timesheet we've just released, it's now owned by Tom Logan. Who owned it last was Gail. From here, it's going into a status called posting, although different organizations will have different levels of approval. And all of this has been locked. That's because TimeControl treats the timesheet like we would a piece of paper. Gail can put a timesheet on her supervisor's desk. She can't rifle through her supervisor's desk looking for a document, even if that document was created by her. So that's as easy as it gets for entering a timesheet. The one extra thing that Gail might be keen to do here is adding a time request. And that's not specifically part of a timesheet, but it's very common for end users to do, and that's creating something like for vacation. In fact, we can have Gail add a annual vacation schedule and make that request of her supervisor, and say that she's planning to take some time off in January of 2020. There we go, January 2020, and let's see that schedule. She's going to be wanting to take off the 13th until the 17th. That's internal vacation, 8 hours a day for 5 days. And she could have put a note in, and that will now go. Here we go. Maybe she has to change the hours on one of the days. Maybe she's coming in just for the morning on Monday. But that looks pretty good. That's going to go to Tom Logan now to say annual vacation, just like she would a timesheet to say, well, that's going to Tom Logan. And Tom will send back a request of either approved or not. And then if it comes back, Gail will know that that's right on her calendar, and it will automatically go into her timesheet on that week that she's on vacation. Okay, we've been in the system as an end user, but how does this all get set up? Let me go back into the system as an administrator. You'll see that this menu becomes a little longer. That's because Joseph Gardner is an administrator in TimeControl. He has a dashboard that looks a little bit different. You can create dashboards. In fact, you can select dashboards on the fly if you like. In this case, we've made something that administrators would be more interested to see. And Joseph is responsible for doing all kinds of things in TimeControl as an administrator, including doing things like setting up the tables. Now, these tables can be loaded from external sources. TimeControl is able to import and export or integrate using its own API, if you like, with other systems. But if we take a look just at that project that we were looking at, the Polar project, and you can see that things can be hierarchical here. Now I can look at some tasks and see where they came from, even see where they came from a project management system. If I look at the employee table, this will allow us to do things like loading all people who can enter a new timesheet. Let's just look at Gail. There's Gail's record. In fact, if I look at the timesheet information, I can see Gail's approval path was from her to Tom and from Tom to posting, just as we had seen. This is also where I can condition data to say, don't show every employee every charge, don't show every employee every project. I can filter that the way that I want. When you're an administrator or at any other level in the system, you can set security profiles so that different people see different things. In the user profiles, I can make something for an administrator that has no restrictions at all. And if we just look at the administrator, I can see something pretty basic for security. What data am I allowed to see? But also I can see menu security, what menu items are allowed, even down to the field level. If I look down at the timesheet, for example, it looks like there was actually fields that were not visible because we don't want to show them to everybody. So this is something that can be done even in the timesheet lines. Make fields visible, read only, not visible, depending on on the individual users. And so we can set some fields to be visible for certain groups, other fields to be visible for other groups, whether that's in the tables, in reports, in exports, imports, or in the timesheet itself. The One of the powers of time control is being able to link in and out to other systems. And time control can maintain multiple links simultaneously. In this system, we have made several different links. You can see if we just change the options here to show the descriptions, then there we go. So we can see we have Brightwork, we have Project, Microsoft Project on the desktop, online on the server. We have Deltek's EPPM system. We have Primavera, SharePoint, and so on. So we can maintain multiple links to multiple projects simultaneously. End users don't have to worry about that. For the end user, they are able to simply do their timesheet and not worry where that charge item came from or where it's going back to. They can just report on what actually happened. Time Control has its own reporting system. And here we can see the standard report interface. I can actually design a new report from here. If I add a report, I can add it for different types of data. If I want to just display a report, I could do this as easily in, I'm in a web browser now, but I could do it just as easily on an iPad or on a tablet or on an Android tablet or on a phone. And some reports can have graphics and text. Some reports just text. You can copy the existing time control reports. You can filter them for, well, virtually any aspect of the data, including ranges of dates. And then you can have those reports not just printed or visible, but you can also schedule them so they can be created at a certain time, perhaps over the weekend, and emailed to people who are waiting for those reports. From here, you can design your own report or just copy an existing one and edit from there. Another popular reporting view for time control is to look at information either as a calendar, if we're looking at things like time requests, or we're looking at times when people might be available. We can look at it as a calendar view. We can look at tasks in a bar chart view. This is also possible as a Gantt chart. But one of the most popular views for administrators is to look at a tactical tool called the Drilldown Analyzer. The Drilldown Analyzer is a dynamic view. Oh, I have to just select the right view there. We go. That will do better. And it's a dynamic view that allows you to look at data fairly simply like a long list, or as we drag a column, just as we would in a pivot table, to now see data that has been conditioned in a particular way. Now we're looking at it by project. I could look at it by project and by rate to show overtime versus regular time, and so on. So I can see data very quickly, make very quick drill downs into the data and answer questions that may be coming from management to say, how much time have we spent, for example, on internal meetings in the last 90 days. Answering that in the Drilldown Analyzer is extremely, extremely fast. Now, we talked about approvals when we approved the whole timesheet, but I'd like to show you one more aspect of approvals, and that's line item approvals that we do when we have project managers and supervisors, both of whom want to do approvals. We've written a process called the matrix approval process for labor actuals, and you can find that on the website and read more about it. But it allows for timesheets to be approved by their supervisor for the totals, just as we saw with Gail Robinson. And now we can look at line by line for a particular time to say, well, some of these things have been approved. Some of them are still waiting approval, so I can say, well, that's fine and that's fine. Not so happy about that one. And the project managers can now determine if these lines are acceptable to move back to the project management system for update. If they have the appropriate rights, they can even do an edit of a timesheet in an auditable fashion using a tool called debit credit. There's another way to do this, even more in depth, called line item approval. And in line item approval, we can see different charges in different ways. Same kind of interface. So whether you're an administrator or a supervisor, or a team lead, or an individual, time control can present itself to you in different ways. Now, we're looking at time control on a browser, and we support many different browsers, including Firefox, which I'm in right now, or Chrome, or Edge, or Internet Explorer, or if you're not on a PC at all, Safari on the Mac, or Mozilla on Linux. All of these are supported browsers. But Time Control also includes a free mobile app that works on iOS or Apple devices and Android devices. And we'll show you some screenshots of that in just a moment. Okay, let's get back to our slides. Okay, a few last notes to wrap up. First of all, the matrix approval process, something we saw some of demonstrated, allows us within the same process to approve information both organizationally and line by line, so that project managers can approve different elements of the timesheet without having to approve the entire timesheet, while organizationally, you can approve the entire timesheet without having to worry about it line by line. This flow allows us to move data from project management systems, whether it's Brightwork or Microsoft Project or Primavera or Prism, move into Time Control to update the actuals, and then back to the project management system, but at the same time also going to ERP or finance systems such as payroll, billing, job costing, and other kinds of systems for governance. Now, we didn't show it to you on the larger screen, but Time Control also has a free app. Works on Android and Apple devices, works in tablet or phone, and has numerous different views that you'll find of interest. And anyone who has a Time Control license can use the mobile app for free. This is controlled by the administrator, so you can open up or not access to mobile users to use Time Control. So many features we couldn't show you, but they're extensive. More information on this is available at timecontrol.com. But whether it's expense tracking or accruals, vacation tracking, links to other systems, all of this are things that we can talk about in Time Control more in depth. One of the hallmarks of Time Control are the links that are already included to project management systems, whether that's Jira or Aries Prism or Primavera or Oracle Project, Microsoft Project. Some of these are built in, some of them are handled either through the Time Control transaction files, or additional links could be created through the API. You may know some of our clients. Time Control is used around the world and in a wide range of industries, from engineering to healthcare, from manufacturing to telecommunications. We're used in both the private sector and the public sector. And we have representatives all over the world. Our head office is in Montreal. We have additional offices in Toronto, but you can find representatives on our website from literally everywhere. Flexibility. Time Control's a multi-purpose timesheet, and flexibility is really the hallmark of what we do. And so being able to adjust to what you're doing without changing the product is really what you'll see. And you can find out more about Time Control on our website, timecontrol.com. If you'd like to try it, you can try it today at our free trial site, freetrial.timecontrol.com. Stop by our HMS site if you would like to find out more about HMS software, or feel free to email us with any further questions. Thank you for your time. We hope you enjoy other places on the website for more information.